I'm going to call this video Reciprocal Narrowing. And the strategy of gang stalkers, the strategy of your harassers, is to cripple your potential. We're going to talk about that. Reciprocal narrowing. It's kind of like painting yourself in a corner, but not really. The gang stalkers are trying to paint you into a corner. They want to limit your potential. They want to hyper-focus you. You're dealing with a lot of things. You're getting harassed. You're getting attacked. You're getting hindered. You're dealing, with a lot of pressure. And that is going to squeeze, your focus into a lot of different areas that, you normally wouldn't, be channeling your energy in that way. Well, most people don't sit around and try to figure out if someone is breaking into their house every time they leave. When you walk into a store, before you didn't wonder if somebody was going to come up to you and assault you with some personal information that no one else should know but you. When you were going to work before, well, you didn't have to sit around and wonder if there was a conspiracy to try and get you fired or to drive you nuts, and so forth. And the list goes on and on and on. And what's going to happen is you are going to be squeezed into that place where you're forced to deal with whatever's coming at you. And, it's one thing to deflect, okay? Because that's really kind of where I'm going with this, a little spoiler alert, because when that stuff comes at you, whatever it is, I don't care whether it's workplace harassment, whether you're getting attacked in your dwelling, or whether people are coming up and gaslighting your street theater, it doesn't matter what it is. The first thing you got to know is it's wrong. I don't care what kind of baloney campaign or message has been sent to you that these people have the right to do it. First thing you got to know it's wrong. The axiom that you want to use for that is this is unacceptable. It's not biblical. And, that biblical axiom is obvious. Do unto others, you would have them do unto you. Love your neighbor as yourself. If your enemy's hungry, give him something to eat. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. So what they're going to do is they're going to try and make you feel guilty or condemn you or whatever, or, use something to gaslight you into believing that they've got the right to do it. At least that's idyllically what they want. The next thing that you have to remember is that you don't have to solve this problem the way it's coming at you. Okay, you can't control other people. You can't. You can't stop somebody from doing something. There are things that you can prevent. I've talked about that before. If you get a security system or whatever, you can protect your dwelling, or, maybe at work you can wear a body cam or whatever. You can take precautions or whatever. You can not react, and we're kind of going towards that as well. And that's going to discourage and deter people from doing things like that. But you don't have to solve it, right? And that's one of the tricks to get your mind hyper-focused. Because, like I said before, before you didn't have to worry about that. You might leave your house now, and oh gosh, what are they going to do? Oh, what about, little Fred, the pet dog you got? You got to worry about him. You got cameras all over. What are the neighbors going to think? It's a perfect opportunity, for you to get stressed out, hyper-focused, and to get driven nuts. And it's also a really good opportunity for the kingdom of darkness to come in there and make all kinds of assertions about what's going on and how unfair it is or whatever, and to build up that tension that I've talked about in previous videos, because that sense of injustice is the powder keg behind, frustrating you and getting you to freak out. But if you don't process it that way, if you know that it's wrong, first off, you know that you can't solve it, and you're expecting it to happen, and you're just going to write it off, well, at that point, you're ahead of the game. That tension's not going to get built up. I mean, think about it. It's just like trash talk in sports. When the person gets worked up or whatever, what happens to the way they're playing the game? They screw up. They suck. They can't concentrate. They're making mistakes. They're reacting. And it doesn't work. And it's the same thing with you. It's the same thing with all people who are experiencing that kind of harassment. They want to, destroy your potential. They want to get you into that place where they can narrow your potential and get you thinking about things that are unproductive and hinder you and kind of get you into that reciprocal narrowing to where you're just kind of getting squeezed into nowhere. And that's kind of the way it works. So if you're expecting this stuff to happen, first off, you're not going to be taken by surprise, and you're going to deflect that energy. You guys have seen, the Kung Fu theater stuff, those Chinese, movies they used to have. And there was a martial arts, I can't remember what it was, but the guy would get punched and he would just move with the punch into another move and use that kinetic energy to, either attack, somebody else that was coming after him, or to just move his body out of the way, and, there would be zero effect. And that's what you want. You want to have zero effect. When these people are coming at you with whatever they're doing, you can't deny reality. I'm not asking you to do that, because everything's, it's going to have an effect of some sort. But as far as what they want to do, it'll be a zero effect. If you're not getting stressed, if you're not sitting around grinding metal, trying to figure all this stuff out, if you're, calm in your mind, if you're in control of what's going on, and you've developed protocols, and you're letting for example, the security system worry about that kind of thing, and to know that you can't control other people, well, you're going to be way ahead of the game, because they want you to sit around and grind metal. They want you to be frustrated. They want you to try and figure out how to stop all this stuff. Maybe you got to go buy, a machine gun or something or whatever. You got to, run to, the North Pole and live in an igloo or whatever. It gets that bad where people, they start wondering, how am I going to solve this? How am I going to figure this stuff out? And, there's a point where, you have to plan, you have to be productive, but you have to know in that, because there are things you're going to deal with, but you have to know that you can't control other people. You may be in a situation where things are so aggressive, maybe in your family situation, that you might have to leave. They might be so aggressive concerning the neighbors that you're dealing with, you might have to leave. Or whatever, or a workplace situation, or, there's certain things you're not going to be able to do anything about. Okay. And, you have to know that up front. And I've talked about that before too. When things get ugly, sometimes, it's okay to, relocate or something. I waited too long on, a couple occasions, and I paid the price. I did. It's very stressful. And that's another thing you got to prepare for. You might have to do that. You might have to move around a little bit. You might have to travel light. I don't have a whole lot. I don't keep a whole lot of stuff. In fact, the last time I moved was wasn't that long ago. I didn't even unpack, because I'm probably going to have to leave again. But, knowing all these things and knowing the strategy that they're trying to pull on you to get your mind hyper-focused, right? You're not going to be able to be productive in maybe your hobbies or anything. And there was a viewer that mentioned, just kind of getting your mind off things and getting into hobbies. Excellent advice. That's, dialectic behavioral therapy 101. You need something to distract you, something that's going to require concentration. And, a lot of times you just want to forget about all this stuff. If you can, put it out of your mind completely. You don't want to be sitting around in that place where you're grinding metal and just going around in that circular conversation. That's part of the reciprocal narrowing. And, if you're a classic target individual, and you're in, that place where you're new at this, it happens to just about every one of them, because that's the way it goes. You're thinking about it all the time. You're trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure out if people can read your mind, if they're going to do this to you, if they're going to attack you at work, what it all means, who it is it a secret society, what the hell is, and that's all you can think about. And you step back a little bit. It doesn't matter who it is, because you're going to have to deal with the same thing. I'm not saying that it's not okay to be realistic and know that, when this stuff pops up, that you got to try and channel that energy into a productive, place. If you're looking at stuff, that's okay. But don't be indoctrinated into something that's unrealistic and is going to, put you in a place where it's going to feed into that reciprocal narrowing, to where you get indoctrinated by a website that's talking about, genetic stuff, or it's just got unproductive material or unrealistic, things that have to do with, usually lawsuits against the government or something. And it would be okay to look at that stuff, but you have to be realistic. And you have to know that, for example, bringing a lawsuit against the government is not really possible. Okay, you guys know what happened out there in, Mojave County, Arizona. The people got injured by, the chemtrail stuff that they were doing out there. They said they were working on, weather modification, right? And people got barium, it's radioactive material in their blood and everything. You can look it up online. They had their little, day with the senator or whatever. And as far as I know, they didn't even buy them pizza or anything. Everybody got up and said it was, it was wrong and how dare you. And then they kind of just had to go home and deal with it. And they tried to cover it up, but it finally came out. One of those interesting conspiracy theories that ended up to be true. But are they going to be able to sue the government? No, they're not. So in other words, there's things that can happen. I'm full disclosure. Things are interesting. There's a lot of things going on with Havana syndrome, and that comes from directed energy weapons. And there's some people that were just attacked recently again. And they were talking about people being attacked even at the White House with these, directed energy weapons. So, there could be some things that are going to happen. But you have to be realistic. So try to be productive. Don't let them get you hyper-focused on a bunch of unproductive material and unrealistic stuff. And, try to find credible websites to look into, YouTube channels or whatever. Because, you could learn a lot of things just by studying the right material, even if it's, material that has to do with gangstalking. It's hard to find out there, but you could always look at it like a scientific experiment when you're watching someone's channel. See what they're doing wrong and see if you're doing some of those things wrong. Right? There's a lot of people, and I've talked about it before, that might walk around at first and be looking around to see if people are looking at them, and without knowing it, they're freaking other people out because they're looking at them, and then they're going to look at, the targeted individual, and it's kind of a reciprocal effect to where you just, got to lay off the eye contact. You're kind of bringing it to yourself. Or if you're, walking around with a camera and, looking for things, that are going wrong or whatever, and people are looking at you funny, well, it's probably because you're walking around with a camera. Or it's probably because, they don't know what you're doing. If you're circling around on a bicycle, for example, where there's a group of people and then they start looking at you, and then you're like, oh, look, they're gang stalkers. No, they're trying to figure out what you're doing. They're not, doing anything to you. You're the one that kind of rode up to them. So there's a lot of ways that you can do this, and you have to know the strategy. They want to get you hyper-focused. They want to get you stressed. They want to get you to try and figure out something that you can't control. And they want you to believe that they have the right to do it. Don't let them do it, guys. Be good to yourself.